With that, we're going to go to our first special presentation of the evening, and that is from the Citizens Institute on Rural Design. They've had a grant workshop going on the past 2 days in town, as well as some pre-workshops the past couple of weeks. And we're very glad to have them in this community and for the work that they're bringing here for us. So with that, I'm going to turn it right over to the CIRD team. And for those who may have just been hopping on the call, you can see us right through this laptop, but your presentation is projected on the wall here in council chambers. Over to you.
Great, thank you so much. My name is Lizzie McWillie. I'm from Building Community Workshop, and I'm going to start off our presentation about what we've been doing with the CIRD workshop. We have a lot of slides, so I'm going to try to go through them quickly. If you need me to slow down, just let me know. But I'm just gonna start off. Let's see. Okay. Great. With an introduction to the Citizens Institute on Rural Design. Originally, we'd planned for a much bigger team to be here, but because of COVID, that hasn't been the case. So I'm going to fill in for a couple of different roles. So first off, the Citizens Institute on Rural Design is a leadership initiative of the National Endowment for the Arts. And we've been working, I'm with Building Community Workshop. We were a sub-consultant or working as part of the team with the Housing Assistance Council, which is the main cooperator for CIRD. And we've been focusing on communities with populations of 50,000 or less. And Millinocket had a fantastic application for the program, one of 3 communities that was selected to have in-person workshops. So the workshop, the goal of the workshop was to, or has been to develop what we've been calling a lookbook, kind of a set of design guidelines for Millinocket's downtown corridor. And the idea of the lookbook is that at the end of this process, we'll have elevations, plans, drawings, etc., that will help create a cohesive look and set of guidelines that organizations, nonprofits, the town can take and run with. So again, my name is Lizzie McWillie. I'm a director at Building Community Workshop. I'm based in Texas. I've also been here with Mitchell Razor, who is a landscape architect based in Portland, and James Reynolds, who is an architect based in upstate New York, and you'll hear from them in a little bit. And then we had a number of other folks who weren't able to join, but have been part of the team. Megan Laudenschlager, she's from Strengthen North Dakota and My Own North Dakota. She led a discussion a couple weeks ago online. Courtney Spearman from the National Endowment for the Arts. Zane from Building Community Workshop. Evelyn from the Housing Assistance Council, and Stephen from the Housing Assistance Council. And you may have seen some of them if you've participated in some of the online work. So I came to Millinocket in February. I did a site visit, and that was in preparation for our workshop that was going to be hosted in April of 2020. A couple of weeks after I came to, oh, is it not showing up? Oh. All right, somebody just told me that the screen isn't sharing. Let me try that again. Can you see that? Yes. All right, so maybe it's a full screen issue, so I won't go full screen. So you didn't miss much. It was just pictures of our faces so far. So as I was saying, I came here in February for our workshop that was to be in April. COVID happened, so we had to pivot. And so we decided to create a hybrid version of the workshop, do some events online. These 2 agendas that you see here were 2 of the workshops that we did online, one with Megan that was focused on business owners on Penobscot. And then I led an online design workshop, I believe last week, kind of getting started establishing some of the goals for us to move forward with and prepare for this week's in-person workshop. And so we've packed a lot into the last 2 days. This is the agenda for yesterday. We did a tour, workshop at lunch, work session, online workshop, and then today another work session, community forum at 12, and now here we are with the town council presentation. After this, we're going to go back and finalize the lookbook, send it back out to everybody. So I'm going to go through a little bit of what we've talked about or what we've done so far, and we'll share all of this information with folks that are interested. These are some of the outcomes of the discussion that Megan led with business owners about what's working on Penobscot, what isn't working from a business perspective, what are some of the things that can be leveraged for the corridor. And then in the online charrette, we started to get into some of the past work that folks have been involved with. So wanting to acknowledge all of the hard work that folks have already put into planning and designing, including the work recently done with the Gazetteer. So what were some of the big ideas that came out of that plan that we could build on? And here are some thoughts that people shared about ideas from the Gazetteer that seemed relevant to the Main Street design. And then in that online charrette, we started to talk about what are some of the area attractors, the things that bring people to downtown. We talked about the boat launch over in the park. We talked about memories that folks had of Veterans Park, of the parades that happened along Main Street. We talked about some of the trailheads, the recreational activities, some of the activities that folks still take advantage of around the high school, and then started getting into what we call a SWOT analysis that probably a lot of folks have gone through before: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, looking at the elevations of all of the buildings along Main Street and seeing, again, getting into more of the design questions of what's working here, what do folks like to see more of, what can we build on, and what are some opportunities that people can get excited about. And that leads us to the workshop that we've been doing over the past couple of days. So we set up in Heritage Park and we put up these boards and we asked folks to talk about the things that they love along Main Street. What are the buildings that folks think have character? What are some places of opportunity? And using that as a way to really start to get into design. Since the lookbook is to provide a set of guidelines, we need to understand what are the physical details, the materials, the real characteristics of the buildings and the public spaces that people would like to see more of, that folks would want to build on, etc. And so we looked at some of the hot spots, places that people put lots of stickers, areas to focus. One of the areas of focus is that intersection of Central and Main. It's obviously very important and a very important intersection. It's really a gateway to downtown. People were really interested in seeing more greenery and seeing more trees. So that's kind of what we built on. And so last night in the online presentation, we started to talk about kind of the basic layout and making some moves with regard to the public right-of-way, the sidewalks, traffic flow, et cetera, and whether there were any changes that we might be able to suggest and what kind of implications those might have for the physical appearance of Main Street. So here's the existing pattern, existing traffic patterns. And we just threw out some ideas. People have brought up a two-way conversion. We talked about this idea of keeping it one way and adding what we're calling a forest, this forest strip, bringing in the ecology of the surrounding area and really having that have a presence on Main Street. And then kind of variations on that. We have this split conversion where you might have two-way at either end, and then it meets at this pedestrian plaza, and kind of throwing these ideas out there and see what people gravitate towards. And then having this detailed conversation about characteristics based on the feedback that we received at lunch. So here are some notes from that. You know, what kinds of things are folks looking for in terms of the storefronts? What do people wish we could see more of in terms of maybe referring to the historic facades along Main Street? And so these are some annotations of the elevations from last night. So we took all of that information, processed it again for our final presentation during lunch today. Here are some photos of that, people making some notes about site furnishings, signage, lighting, et cetera, all based on what we've heard so far. And we went with this idea of the one-way plus the forest, which preserves a majority of the on-street parking. It changes the angled parking to parallel parking. And you have these green strips that can kind of shift from side to side. And one of the reasons for the strip is acknowledging the existing drainage infrastructure that's integrated into the existing sidewalks, and recognizing that making permanent changes like expanding the sidewalks might be challenging. So that was kind of one of the reasons for wanting to look at this idea of the forest strip, which James can talk a little bit more about. And then here are some of the amenities that we highlighted that folks reacted positively toward. So we have signage, lighting, picnic, outdoor dining, and all of these elements can be integrated into those kind of those forest strips, these benches and dining areas, different kinds of seating, all relating to the heritage of Millinocket's wood and forest kind of aesthetic. And then movable planters, this was something that came up. Folks were interested in these planted strips or these green strips, thinking about some kind of temporary activation or use that might also be able to be moved out of the way when plowing would need to be done. And so I'm going to hand this over now to James, who's going to talk about this rendering, and this is the end of the presentation, close to it. But he drew up this vision that compiled all of the thoughts and feedback that we've heard over the last couple of days. Sure.
All right, hey guys, can everybody hear me okay? Excellent. All right, so after that kind of intensive and engaging process, getting to really know the hopes and dreams of everybody that came out and engage with us and discuss with us and give us commentary, we developed this rendering. And it basically sort of, think of it as a diagrammatic tool. It's not prescriptive. It's not telling you exactly how it needs to be done. It's mainly just highlighting and giving one path forward that seems pretty feasible. So, you know, starting from the right, creating a gateway to downtown from Central, because it's going to be the main way people are going to the mountain, and getting them to make that left turn is just crucial in engaging and in revitalizing downtown and Penobscot. So thinking about how you can create some kind of fun and iconic wayfinding signage for people driving that corridor would be great. Another thing is that's highlighted, just because that corner building is a wonderful piece of historic architecture. We found some really great black and white photos from ages ago of what it used to look like. And it really sort of helps to call out that there's a lot of great historic architecture in Millinocket that could be enhanced, and the existing historic elements and details that really invoke that period of time could be maybe uncovered. The vinyl could be pulled off, so to speak, and could be really become a beautiful thing that people could travel to Millinocket to see. There's also definitely an opportunity for banners and signage to really make people want to make that left-hand turn. I heard that there was a great Trails End festival that's kind of up and coming in town, and it can only get better with more engagement. So again, signage for events is something that can really draw people into the one-way street. Also, we, as Lizzie had mentioned earlier, we looked into developing alternate roadway layouts. So right now you have one side of it has parallel parking, and the other side of your street has angled parking. And so we went out and measured the street, and we came up with an alternative scheme that would really provide parallel parking around a one-way street and still have 14 feet left over for a planting island. And that was the forest we were referring to. So think of a 14-foot wide planting strip that could go along and change sides every couple of blocks along Main Street. And this 14-foot wide strip would have trees that are really missing from Main Street, but also provide these cute little pathways, areas where there could be picnic tables and outdoor seating, places where there could be cute little bird feeders and wildflower gardens, the whole works. But it also doubles as municipal drainage overflow infrastructure. It also doubles as a place where snow can be piled during plow season. So it's really like this incredibly versatile piece of infrastructure that incorporates trees that are much missing in Millinocket, founded on forestry, but where's the forest? Can you do the next slide? And then as we go to the left of the rendering, we're also looking at bump outs and other traffic calming measures. That's always good, especially in the entry to a highly trafficked street. It's always good to slow cars down whenever pedestrians are crossing a lot. So that could be a good combination with the kind of gateway idea. And then you have this wonderful park right on the corner, Heritage Park. And so we were really brainstorming today at lunch heavily about what could be used to activate that. And we were toying with the idea of maybe having some Amish sheds that could be little business incubators or pop-ups to kind of help startup businesses kind of get out in the market a little early. And also maybe providing some kind of sculpture as a focal point to the park that would not only draw more visual interest to the area, but also maybe serve as a memorial or a monument to the mill era. And we're also talked a lot about signage and facade enhancement, maybe even having a program in the future that could help with that. And really, the goal of this vision is to encourage placemaking and a sense of really engaging with and respecting the history of the place with a nod to what's going to be required to revitalize and grow into the future. And so I'm going to turn it over real quick to Mitchell to talk about the one-way road a little bit more with this diagram. Mitchell?
Thanks. Hello, my name is Mitchell Racer. As Leslie said, I'm a landscape architect from Portland. And I just want to quickly talk about Main Street. So you actually have this great asset here, this incredible, strong Main Street presence, with a lot of good buildings along it. And you also have a really good dimensional, cross section on Main Street with 42 feet between curb to curb, and then the 9-foot sidewalks. So what we found is that in looking at a number of options going forward, at a very low cost, the Millinocket can consider a number of variations, be it maintain what they have, a two-way conversion with on-street parking and 2 lanes. But in this case, what we're showing here and what fits in between that curb to curb without having to pay for the cost of moving curbs or moving any drainage structures, really keeping that infrastructure in place, you can really go to maintaining what you have now, but with on-street parking on 2 sides, a travel lane down the middle. And then what we show in this imagery on the left, really that sort of planted forest strip or urban forest, but it's really a infrastructure, green infrastructure amenity that really serves multiple purposes. As already mentioned, it is ecological, it is beautiful, it is a space that you can occupy, it is, especially these days dealing with COVID in the summer months, it's a place where you can sit outside and eat and dine. You can have beer gardens, kids can play in that area. It's really a versatile space that really ties into economic development, into placemaking, into sort of the authenticity of the history of forest products here, and then the history sort of the ecology of the forest. So I thought it'd be a wonderful way and a really innovative way to speak uniquely to what is here in Millinocket and build on what's here and not reinvent it, to sort of take from what's all the great sources that you have here and bring them to Main Street and create this wonderful, really exciting Main Street, that people will draw more people in as the region continues to become even more attractive for tourism. So again, just want to say you have an awesome, incredible Main Street. You have great infrastructure. You don't have to move your curbs. Everything's in place. You don't even have overhead utilities. That's like the biggest battle in most communities is, oh, we have all these overhead utilities we have to deal with. It's terrific that your utilities are out of the way already. So congratulations. And there's a lot of really good and easy paths forward in terms of reimagining and re-envisioning an even more vibrant Main Street. So thank you very much.
So that's the end of our presentation. We covered a lot in this period of time. So I know that I think we took up our allotted period, but if anyone has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Can you hear me from the council? Can you hear me at all or is it?
Oh, now I can hear you now.
You can hear me now? Okay. I just wanted to test that out. Are there any councilors that have any questions or comments? I would like to say thank you all for a very informative presentation. We really appreciate it. This work will definitely help us on our goals for revitalizing the community. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and we'll share the presentation with you so you can spend more time with it if you like, because we didn't, get to go through all of the details. So, and we'll be in touch shortly with the lookbook, which we'll share with all of you guys.
It's been a pleasure being in Millinocket. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just for anyone in the audience here, do you have any questions, or is there any councilors that have any last things to say? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.